The 2023 Seattle Seahawks schedule is officially here, and we are here to break it all down for you here on Seahawks Today. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we will go through every single game and provide you some analysis of what we expect ahead for the season for your Seattle Seahawks. We'll get to it in just a matter of moments. Before we do, predict the record. How do you think things are going to shake out for your Seattle Seahawks in 2023? Give me a win-loss record. Heck, even if you want to throw in a tie in there. What do you think is going to happen this year? Predict the record for me in the comment section. We'll get started with today's show. The 2023 season begins with a home game for the Seahawks against the Los Angeles Rams. And if last year were to tell us anything, both games were very exciting, as that was the regular season finale last year against the Rams. This time they come back to Seattle for this one to begin the season. Bobby Wagner back in a Seahawks uniform again. That should be a very fun game, and people really don't know what to expect from that Los Angeles Rams team this year. Then week 2, you take on the Detroit Lions. That game on the road. High expectations for Detroit. Last year they helped the Seahawks get into the playoffs with that win against Green Bay. And Jared Goff is back. They're going to be dealing with some suspensions of guys that won't be available for that game, but nonetheless, going to be a very fun matchup. Last year was a terrific football game between those two high-powered offenses. Week 3, you take on the Carolina Panthers, and young quarterback Bryce Young leading the way, the number 1 overall pick for the Panthers. And then week 4, a Monday night football game in New York against the New York Football Giants, a team that was one of the biggest surprises of the year in 2022. You get a bye week, week 5. Not ideal, kind of too early for a bye week as far as I'm concerned. And you follow that up with a game you're going to have to bring your lunch pail. Take it on the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Joe Burrow and company, week number 6. Week 7, you take on the Arizona Cardinals. Could Kyler Murray potentially be back by then or not? We'll see, but nonetheless, that'll be something to follow. Is DeAndre Hopkins going to be there as well? Week 8, you face the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. Last year, the Browns were disappointing, and they never really got the spark they were looking for when Deshaun Watson came back and was available. Week 9, you take on a Baltimore Ravens team that has Lamar Jackson on a new contract. OBJ's in town now as well. They get Rashad Bateman back. Watch out. The Baltimore Ravens are going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2023. Week 10, you take on the Commanders. Will Ron Rivera be the head coach of the Commanders by then, or could it be Eric Bieniemy? A lot of questions about that Commanders team. A lot of pressure in the nation's capital this season. Week 11, you take on the Rams again. And I think there's a decent chance that the Seahawks and the Rams both are going to be completely different football teams week 1 versus week 11 at that point. That's also the return of Bobby Wagner to Los Angeles, where he played last season. Then, week 12, we will be spending our Thanksgiving together here on Seahawks Today, as we'll share some turducken for a great rivalry game between the Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers from Seattle on Thanksgiving night. Week 13, another Thursday game, this time against those Dallas Cowboys on the road. Back-to-back Thursday games, Dak and company. Watch out, that should be a fun one as well. Then, what do you know, week 14, you're playing the Niners again, just after you played them a couple weeks ago, except this time it'll be in San Francisco, and it gets tough again. You follow that up against the Eagles. What a tough stretch. San Fran, Dallas, San Fran, and Philly. Just unbelievable. That game's a home game, though, against the defending NFC champions. Week 16, you take on the Tennessee Titans. What are the Titans going to look like by then? Is Ryan Tannehill still around? Is Derrick Henry still around? I don't know. Road game. I love Nashville, though. Should be a great vacation for many Seahawks fans there week 16. Week 17, you host the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sure there'll be plenty of signs still saying Big Ben was down, referring to Super Bowl 40, that he didn't get across the goal line. But nonetheless, there's some history there. And then week 18, you take on the Arizona Cardinals. And I got to tell you, shout out to Goodell and the schedule makers for giving the Seahawks the worst team in the division for Week 18, which could be a crucial game potentially for the Seahawks, and you go up against a very bad Arizona Cardinals team who could be playing for the number 1 pick at that point. So that's the schedule. Let's go over some marquee games in a moment. Before we do, folks, you got to subscribe here on Seahawks Today. We are very, very close to 38,000 subscribers here on the channel, just about 380 away. If you want to be a part of what we're doing with our daily news and rumors segments, our live shows, we're going to do watch parties for each and every game day throughout the season. This is the channel for the diehard Seattle Seahawks fan. You do not want to miss a moment of it. And we're going to be covering the entire offseason. I know the draft has concluded. Free agency has kind of slowed down a bit. But whether it's the trades that are going on, mini camps, OTAs, training camp, this is your offseason headquarters for your Seattle Seahawks. Subscribe now for free today. Help us get to 38,000 subscribers. We're about 380 away from reaching that milestone. Subscribe now for free. You'll be glad you did. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. All right, let's go through the slate of games one by one. This Rams game, Week 1, I don't know what Rams team we're going to see and what they're going to look like if they are going to respond from the bad year they had last year, the worst hangover from a Super Bowl I've ever seen. I expect the Rams to be better, but I don't think that the Rams are going to be that great. But they'll at least put their best foot forward for this one. Then you take on that Lions team that offense is so explosive and got so many playmakers, the way they can run the ball. I expect this game to just be a shootout. Watch out, folks. This is going to be a barn burner. The New York Giants, man, the Giants were a very fun team to watch last year. And the Seahawks, they had that stretch where they were just playing terrific football. And, I mean, they really took it to the Giants last year with that win that they had, a pivotal win there for Seattle. And now you play it on a primetime stage. You're going to be on Monday Night Football. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I love Joe Buck. It's going to be awesome that Joe and Troy call in a Seahawks game again. To me, that one is going to be very fun to watch. And the key for that one, got to get some pressure on Daniel Jones as far as I'm concerned. Then let's skip ahead after the bye week, Week 6. On the road, we're on to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I mean, get your Gatorade, folks. I mean, you're going to need to just stop and breathe and get your electrolytes going for this one because the Bengals, they are a problem. They are a lot to take on, a lot to deal with. That's a tough game. It's a good thing you're coming off a bye as you head into this road game. That won't be easy. Will the Seahawks win the NFC West? What do you think about their chances of coming away with the division title this year? Louis Riddick thinks that they're the best team in the division. What say you? Do you think they can come away with the division title? Let me know what you think. Y for yes, in for no. If the Seahawks will win the division or not, tell me what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Then week number 8, Sean Watson comes to town, and that one should be very interesting. What Deshaun Watson will we see this year in Cleveland? I think he's going to be a little bit better than what he was last year. Week 9, you take on a Baltimore Ravens team that they're excited about what they're doing. I thought Todd Monken was an excellent hire, an offensive coordinator. They're going to be a much better team than they were last year. And they weren't bad last year either. You add OBJ into the equation. That is a very good game between Seattle and Baltimore there. Baltimore, I think, is going to surprise some people this year. Then you play the Rams again. Bobby Wagner comes back to Los Angeles, Week 11. And this one for me, I'm very intrigued to see where are the Seahawks at this point. How much have they improved compared to the team that they were back in Week 1 when these two teams previously faced here? And where's Jackson Smith and Jigba going to be at this point in time? Week 12 against San Francisco. Your first of 2 games. This is a short week. Not a whole lot of time to prepare. Thanksgiving night and everything here. Here's the other thing. We've seen what the front lines of the San Francisco 49ers have been this past year or so, the offensive and defensive line. that is going to be a challenge that the Seahawks are going to have for both matchups they have against San Francisco. How will they fare against those lines? That will tell us a lot about how those games are going to go. Then you play the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is going to look a little bit different this year. Mike McCarthy's calling the plays. They're going to be running the football a whole lot more with Tony Pollard and company to try to open up the passing game for Dak to make less mistakes there. You're going to have to defend the run better than what you did in 2022. What opponent worries you the most? You get San Francisco twice this year. You got to play Philadelphia as well. More on that later. This is not an easy schedule, and your bye week is a little bit too early for my liking. Although I'm glad that it's before you play Cincinnati. Cincinnati's tough as well. What's the opponent that worries you the most? Be real with me. Let me know in the comments section what comes to mind. Week 14, you play San Francisco. And I don't like the quick turnaround to play that game after playing them just, what was it, like 2 weeks prior? To me, that's too close of a gap. But to me, that's not an ideal scenario. And to play them both twice late in the season is not that great. Week 15, you get Philadelphia at home. That's a very good thing. Jalen Hurts, what's he going to look like after the season he had last year where he was an MVP candidate? Are the Eagles going to take a step back, or are they going to continue to build upon what they did last year? You get the Steelers week 17. Credit to Mike Tomlin and company last year. They were a much better team in the second half of the season with Kenny Pickett's development and everything than they were at the beginning of the year off that slow start. Are we going to see, when the Steelers come into this game, them be a much approved ascending team, or will they fall off by then? We'll see. And then you wrap up with Arizona. I am so glad that you're facing Arizona to end the regular season. So, schedule, it has its highs, it has its lows. But I got to tell you, there's some winnable games for this Seahawks team. There's no reason why they shouldn't compete at a high level here in 2023. Predict the record for me. How many wins, how many losses? Maybe a tie in there. What is the final record for the Seattle Seahawks going to be this year? Let me know in the comments section. I'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.